The first thing I will tell you all is that this community education program, and I think you all know this to be honest, but I'm going to tell you anyway, this community education program, we've kind of kicked it off with one talk previously. This is the second talk in this program, and it's a pay what you can community education program, and all of our speakers are kindly donating their time without expectation of financial recompense to give something back to the photographer community. But it would be awesome if we could give them some financial recompense as well, because you know, we've all got to eat, haven't we? Something's got to keep us all in tins of baked beans over the winter, where we've not shot any weddings this year and can't afford anything fancier. So in the chat now, I'm just posting the link to the donation button. What we're suggesting as a donation, if you're feeling financially secure, we're suggesting £20. If you're not so much, £10. If you're broke and you can't afford to contribute, that's absolutely fine, but we just ask that you share details of the education program to kind of pay it forward. And for some reason that link's not working, and why is that? Hang on a minute, let me bit.ly it because I think it's too long. So that's kind of my first missive. If you are able to donate, we love you. If you're not, that's also fine. And let's hope this works. Oh, it works for you, Ellie. Okay, cool. So that link does apparently work. And I'll probably bang on about that link about 5 more times as we go through. I can see that everyone on the call at the moment is kind of a seasoned Snapster. So you know this, but I'm going to just run through it anyway. Sharing my screen, I just think it's really, really important just to remember. In fact, I'm not going to share my screen. I'm going to post the link. These are our community standards, and they kind of govern everything that we do at Snap. In a nutshell, we are inclusive and welcoming to everybody. We don't discriminate, we don't harass, we don't bully, we don't intimidate. But just as kind of a reminder, everyone that participates in anything Snap related, we do ask that you're familiar with the community standards, and anyone who doesn't adhere to them will be removed from either the session or the Snap community, or I'm not afraid to kick people out is what I'm saying. In addition to that, just got a few ground rules for today. Most of them apply to kind of when we come to questions later, but just kind of good etiquette. Allow one person to speak at a time. Be mindful of the fact that different people have different styles in terms of communication, and giving everyone an opportunity to speak would be great. Please only share your own experience, don't paraphrase other people's experience, and definitely don't identify people that aren't part of this session. Allow every voice to be heard. Treat everything you hear as an opportunity to learn and grow. Don't be defensive. I mean, I think that's relevant to every talk that we'll be running as part of this program, but I think it's especially relevant in terms of the talk that Tash is going to be delivering today. Tash and I talked about this a little bit earlier, and I know that I definitely have to kind of examine sometimes when I feel triggered, or I feel a bit defensive, or I feel a bit resistant to things, and think about why that is. So don't be defensive. We're here to critique ideas, not individuals, so we don't name people or brands that aren't present, and we don't kind of target, and Snap definitely doesn't condone pile-on culture. Anything that is said in this session stays in the room. What goes on tour stays on tour. And the last one is just to adhere to the community standards. So that is everything I wanted to say. I'm going to ask everyone just to turn off your mics and cameras if you're not presenting. And then I'm going to hand over to Tash. Tash, why don't you start? I was going to say tell us a bit about yourself, but you do that as part of your talk anyway, don't you? So I'm just going to hand over to you and let you run wild. Run wild.
I like to talk about myself. It's just who I am, innit? Okay, so I'm going to start with sharing my screen straight away so that I'm not just the moon on here. I hope, anyway. So, let me see how this looks now. Could you let me know? I can't see the chat now. Just letting you know that I can't see the chat. So if you could let me know you can see it, somebody.
I can, and I'll keep an eye on it for you.
Perfect. So I can't see the chat when I'm screen sharing. So I'm going to go with it.
I can see it too. It looks good.
Okay. Just this one window, yeah? Okay, so I'm Tash. I'm Love Llewellyn Photography. That's me in better days. They were taken by Carla Blaine Photography. I would feel really, really bad if I didn't credit her with her wizardry. So there we go. I've been a wedding photographer since 2015, but I established Love Llewellyn in 2013. I started in my bedroom, as you do. When I had my second son, I wanted to take better pictures. So I decided to casually order a Canon from a catalogue, and there we have it. I was Love Llewellyn. I knew straight away, in my community at least, and where I was raised, that if I went out into the industry with Tash Jones photography or Tash-Louise photography, that no one would book me, because that's just the way it was. And there is more to that. I didn't just come to that conclusion overnight. So I established Love Llewellyn by using a nickname that my grandmother gave me, Llewellyn, because she hated my name, Natasha. And then added love to it because it rang. And that was it, really. So I went full-time in January 2018. It took me quite a while to go full-time because for me, raising the boys up to full-time school at least was priority. So I just knew that I wanted to give them my full attention, and I didn't really have the confidence until recent years to take it full-time. So now it's my full-time job. I didn't have another job, but I was very, very lazy photographer. I'd say like 10 weddings a year, if that, maybe 3 family shoots. And I was like, that's enough for me. So now that's all I do. And I'm based in Northeast Wales, about 25 minutes from the Cheshire border. Obviously, as you can hear, that doesn't change the accent at all. And I'm very Welsh. And my dad is Jamaican. So I'm Welsh Jamaican, and I'm very, very proud of it now. And it's taken me a long time to get to that level of like, yay, about who I am. I'm definitely not an anti-racism consultant. I just want to say that for the record, there are plenty of people who do that job really well with poise and elegance and grace, and that isn't me. I'm just speaking about my lived-in experience as a Black woman in the UK and a Black wedding photographer in the UK also, because those are very different experiences, but they have the same purpose in this conversation. So, I noticed when I started Love Llewellyn that I didn't initially put a picture of me on the website for reasons that I've said before. I kind of knew I wouldn't get booked, and I was really shy. So I had Love Llewellyn and then the images, but no about me or no picture of me. And I noticed at first when I turned up for shoots, people would be really visibly shook. So in the end, in about 2016, I decided it's time to kind of like let people know who they're getting. So I started using images of myself, and I saw my client base change. Obviously, people who were loyal clients came back, but I definitely attracted a different kind of person once I shown who I was. And that's fine, because they were my people, and that was good for everybody. It was better for me and better for them, because I guess, you know, we all knew what we were getting. These are pictures to show that I had a job before COVID, and that I know how to use a camera a little bit, and, you know, hopefully one day I'll get to do that again, because I miss it. So I like a lot of up close and personal stuff, and I'm very medium moody, I would say. So on to the most emotional part for me. I'll be very, very surprised if I don't get it without getting emotional. It happens after you have kids, and it's so annoying. But these are kind of Milo. Hang on. It'll be fine in a second. So these are my boys, and we call ourselves the Tripod. It's not original, but that's who we are. And they are now, Kai's just turned 13 and Milo 7. Literally everything I do is for them. Oh, here we go. And like, yeah, they're the best people. They are kind, they're considerate, they are friendly, they're beautiful, they're so intelligent and so polite, and yet that doesn't make a difference. Doesn't matter how nice they are, doesn't matter how well behaved they are, they will definitely face some sort of racism in their time. And for me, that's just unacceptable. The reason why I'm here is so that they have a better time than I did, and I hope their generations and future generations, if they decide to have children, have a much better time than I did. So yeah, that's my why. Please promise to make it safe for me is a reminder, because obviously with the Black Lives Matter movement in 2020, a lot of big companies and brands kind of pledged their allegiance and support to the cause, which was great, but it kind of took the power away from me to have conversations that I needed to have with my children when I wanted to have them, or when I felt was appropriate. It was kind of like they're playing Fortnite and then it pops up. So they wanted to know, why is it saying this? Why are people talking about this? What does this mean for me? So I was forced into conversations with them that I probably would have had with Milo, especially a bit later on. He asked me, he got very, very scared. He asked me to promise to keep him safe. Obviously, as a mother, you cannot promise it. I did my best in that situation to kind of appease his fear and the confusion. But at the end of the day, I can only do my best in terms of like looking after them. My most vivid parenting nightmare memory of racism was taking Kai, the eldest, out to McDonald's when I was heavily pregnant with Milo, because we're classy like that. And he went to the toilet. I could see him in my view. He was safe. He went to the loo. And a young man, probably, I'm estimating 15 to 18, followed him immediately to the toilet. And I was prickled. I was like, what's going on? And I told Kai's dad, go and get him now. I just knew something wasn't right. Lo and behold, the young man comes out and literally starts shouting across the platform of the top level of McDonald's, I wanted to hurt that little black boy. And if I didn't see him follow Kai in, if I hadn't been looking up from my chicken nuggets then, I can't imagine what would have happened, but that young man was escorted out, needless to say. And obviously as a parent, you can imagine how that feels. Your instincts are kicking in. You want to protect them. I'm heavily pregnant, so I can't do as much. And that was kind of the first time I realised, and Kai was 5 years old, that I will have to do better to make it safer for them. Milo wasn't born then, but for me, it had already begun, and that's going back 8 years ago now. So it was about then where I realised it was time to kind of put myself a bit more forward in conversations and allow myself to get vulnerable so that people could see that there's an impact and there's people behind these actions. So yeah, that's that bit. I absolutely understand that any kind of racism conversation is going to provoke emotion, fear, tension, anxiety, concern, and discomfort. For me, I feel it right now. I definitely feel anxiety. So what I'm saying is, although it's difficult and although it's hard, these conversations are very necessary. I've done so much personal, I feel like I've grown so much personally since May 2020, just by putting myself in situations that I don't want to be in really, and having conversations that I find physically difficult to get through. So it has to be done. The results speak for themselves. The progress I've made with my family and my partner and my friends speak for itself. So it's something that I'm going to continue doing. Whether it be publicly, I don't know. But this is definitely a safe space for those feelings. I totally understand that it can come across preaching and lecturing and also annoying when someone tells you that you're not doing something right, especially if you class yourself as a good person. Nobody wants to be told to redo it again or look at what they did and maybe do it better. No one actually likes that. If somebody tells me to do my bed again because I think I've done it right, I'm not happy about that. And I know that's a silly kind of example, but I do feel that it's the same feeling, just bigger. You just feel challenged, don't you? So, all lives matter. I can't possibly go on without addressing this hashtag and the statement I keep seeing. So obviously I could give you loads and loads and loads of examples of why Black lives need to matter at the moment and that they don't. My favourite examples are, you know, if a building is on fire, you don't call the others for every building on your estate. And then if it's my birthday and you start singing happy birthday to my sister, you just don't do it, do you? It's as simple as that. Everybody deserves equal grounds. And I do think that at the moment, Black people are starting 50 metres behind white people in a race that is difficult for everybody. So I'm not saying your life hasn't been hard or it hasn't had challenges or issues or grief or loss or anything else that comes with being alive. I'm just saying that if I'm born starting 50 metres behind you in that 100 metres race, I can't possibly get there at the same time or equally fair or have the same opportunities. And really, all we're really asking for is for that kind of 50-metre head start to be level to zero, so that we're all starting from the same place with the same opportunities, the same acceptance, the same universal representation. I want to see myself, you know, in the films. I want to see myself in the blogs. I want to plan my wedding and be able to look on Pinterest and see people that look like me and like my dad. And there's so many shades and colours and demographics under the umbrella term of Black. And I really don't think that the iceberg has even been kind of touched in terms of representation yet, but we're getting there. And I think the more that these things happen and the more that these conversations happen, then hopefully I'll be able to show the boys when they're growing up, oh yeah, you know, not just Black Panther, and obviously that was a massive loss for us, but several superheroes that are Black, several good characters that aren't just the poor person or the person saved by somebody in white power or somebody who is in the ghetto or a homeless person or somebody without a dad. Actual representation of all of us, and not just that consistent narrative that is given to us that we are less or start less or will never be as much. And I do think that's really important. Black Lives Matter, to me, this says 6 weeks, but obviously I did this about 6 weeks ago, so 12 weeks ago-ish, has given me confidence to use my voice in a way that I never thought was possible. I can't tell you how much I would have paid you and bet that I would never be doing this now. Just 3 months ago, like, it's insane to me that I'm boring people with this kind of chat, but here we go, like, it's happening. For me, it's been really intense and really overwhelming because I went from having just my general life circle to genuinely that catastrophic event that was really, really gruesome and really prolonged, and obviously the final straw for a lot of people. I think at peak I had 60 messages in one day, and that was via Instagram, Facebook, text message, WhatsApp, Snapchat. It was insane. And it varied from, how can I help? Use me. Do you remember that time that I said this to you? I didn't mean it. It was a lot of demand. And I personally couldn't cope with that level of attention at that time. So I kind of went into a bit of a pit at first. And, you know, I wrote my personal posts on Facebook, but I didn't think much about it because it wasn't something I felt that I had the mental capacity to take on at that time. And then as it got kind of leveled out a little bit after that initial burst of everybody wanting to kind of be seen, heard and recognised in their own, you know, anti-racism journey, I found it easier to speak. And I also feel that speaking things like this gives me the opportunity to give blanket responses, because I couldn't reply to everybody. So I felt that kind of public speaking gave me a chance to reply without replying. Does that make any sense at all? Who knows? But that's what I do. What's been hard for me is to hear the people I love tell me they just didn't realise. They just didn't know. They just didn't know how hard it was. I come from North Wales, so 95% of my social circle is white. The only people I interact with day to day are white, other than my family. It's hard because obviously this is something that we've suffered with, and I know I've suffered with for the last 35 years. My earliest memory is when I was 4 years old, and that is of a racist interaction. So to have your best friends and your partner and your own mum saying, I just didn't know, to be honest, I understand, but it's also painful because, yeah, I wish they'd have seen it sooner without obviously everything that's happening. Yeah. So all lives are at the top right now, and it has been like that really for 400 years plus. So all lives to me literally translates, and this is the way I feel only, as white people at the top. And if you say all lives matter, then you're talking about you know, immigrants. You don't really mean it, do you? So for me, anybody or any person who comes at me with all lives kind of gets an automatic defense mechanism. I kind of shut off now because I've never had a good interaction come from that. I've never had a good argument or a valid response to it. I've never had a reasoning that makes any sense to me yet. So, white privilege, it doesn't mean your life hasn't been hard. It means your skin tone isn't one of the things that makes it harder. There are plenty of forms of privilege, you know, religious privilege, economic, gender, heterosexual and straight privilege. But obviously today I'm speaking about white privilege because it applies to me. This is a conversation for me that has been the most challenging, because if you tell somebody that believes themselves to be anti-racist or not racist, as the case may be, that they have white privilege, the automatic response has been to me, but I'm not rich, but I don't have this, but I don't have that. And that's literally not the point. The point is that your skin colour hasn't made life hard. It doesn't mean that I think you think you're better than me. It doesn't mean anything other than challenges you can't possibly have faced, because the whole world is kind of geared to making your life easier than mine. It won't be, you know, as easy as that. And obviously there's a lot more factors, but that is the point of white privilege to me. Going on to white fragility, and this is a test, and it is kind of, I guess, the most irritating slide, if that's a thing. Like, I'd say these are the questions that I've spoken to my mum with, I've spoken to my partner, and they've answered yes to some of these, and we've had difficult conversations. And to be totally honest with you, if I was to really read them again, I would say that the way I've been conditioned to believe that I am and what I'm worth, I even have sometimes thinking, yeah, I feel the same. If that, you know, so I wouldn't say this is exclusive to white people. I would say there are black people who literally believe this and would answer yes to these because of the conditioning they've faced. Because I was definitely always told to minimize myself and mute myself. So I would say that the feelings that you get when you are challenged are not unique to white people, and I'm definitely not attacking a whole demographic, because I believe that everybody's got things to do and work on. And I know from the conversations I've had with my family that they were surprised that they felt this was the result. So when I've asked these questions to my partner, for example, we've had blazing rows because obviously he's engaged to me. So apparently that makes him not racist, but it really doesn't, because if you have bias and if you have feelings inside you that dictate the way you treat people, you definitely have work to do. And that's not always an easy thing to kind of accept or even hear. And I totally understand that. What I really want is to be able to speak to you about how it feels to be racially discriminated against without the conversation leading to how you feel about how I feel being racially discriminated against. So by that I mean, if I tell you, this really hurt me and this is why, and then you respond to me, but you being hurt makes me feel like this, then we're always talking about how we both feel about the issue, which is it shouldn't be happening. Tone policing for me is a big part of this, and I definitely get tone policed a lot. I'm very honest anyway, but I'm open to kind of feedback, and I definitely feel that the feedback I get as a Black woman would always be, you know, maybe if you came at it with a better kind of facial expression, if you weren't so harsh looking, or maybe if you adjusted your tone and you reworded it or rephrased it, and then I'll be able to accept it more, or I would have approached it differently. You know, the list is never ending. If I say to you in a nice way that you've been racist, you're still going to give me the same reaction. Let's be honest. So by you telling me that if I say it in a nicer way that you may listen to me, that's literally just gaslighting, isn't it? I am consistently told, or I have been consistently told prior to lockdown, that I am too aggressive and too negative. And I literally thought that I had like an anger problem. I genuinely in my teens thought I had to like count to 10 before I responded and stuff. But I was actually not that bad looking back. I was reacting to a horrific event, or being called the N-word, or being spat on, and you're gonna be angry, aren't you? So yeah, a lot of it for me was realizing that what people think of me is none of my business, and their perception of me was down to their work that needed to be done, not mine. And that was a revelation for me. Negativity and being told you're negative for telling someone how you feel about the racial abuse you've received. There's no nice way to tell you that you've been racist or you've caused me harm. Racism is negative. So for me, that's kind of something that I've had to work on to allow myself to react and allow myself to be authentic. I consistently have to tell myself it's okay to be upset by something, instead of always thinking like I used to, maybe if I hadn't have said that to him, he would have been okay. Or if I didn't look like that, they would have left me alone. And that was conditioning for me, because I was told that by my parents, I was told that by my teachers, I was told that by my friends, literally just told it by everybody really. So for my children now, what I do is I allow their emotional responses. If I've done something and they emotionally respond, obviously I'm not racist to my children, but if I cause them to react in an emotional way, I never minimize it anymore. I never say, you shouldn't cry. I never say, you know, gosh, it's enough now, or it's not enough, because it's their feelings. And I do think that that's something that can be taken in every aspect of life, to be honest, like allowing people to feel an emotion and getting through it. White fragility is a barrier to racial healing because it prevents people of colour from being able to engage in honest conversation without the burden of having to cater to white people's emotional comfort. At its worst, white fragility can cause an emotionally unhealthy situation for people of colour because of racial power dynamics and the weight of being responsible for white people's feelings whilst having no space to express our own. that's pretty much what I said about me worrying about your reaction to my reaction to the event of whatever has occurred between us, or how I'm feeling about something that's happened that needs to be kind of adjusted on your part. I can honestly say I have panicked and panicked and panicked, especially when speaking to the people closest to me, that I don't want to upset them. I don't want to make them angry. I don't want them to be feeling guilty. Even though I've been caused harm, I would literally sit there and go, okay, we're going to phone her now and I'm going to try and have this chat. And it's a stressful situation for everybody involved. And it would be such a revelation for me to be able to approach a conversation and know that that person is open and accepting to the feedback I'm going to give, and that I'm open to the feedback they're going to give as well, because it does work both ways. So I'm going straight into like the obvious thing for me. So that was my Instagram grid probably like 4 weeks ago. I use Planoly. So I didn't actually change my scheduled posts at all. The only thing that changed for me is I added the black square, but I used the whole caption up to when Instagram told me to stop talking, because I didn't want to just kind of mute or minimize the hashtag with just nothing really, nothing of purpose. It's all very well putting a black square, but what was the message? What were you trying to say? Or were you just kind of following a bandwagon? For me, I live in North East Wales, as I've said. I don't live in a diverse area, and I want to be home with my children as much as possible. That dictates how much I'll travel and how much I will do to seek out diversity. I don't feel the need to run out and phone my sisters and get them to do styled shoots, or get my cousins, because I don't feel the need to prove anything, because I am inclusive. I feel that there's a lot of performing at the moment. You can see it from the big wedding blogs and, you know, from photographers who are really prominent in the industry. It was kind of like white, maybe one same sex, white, and then the black square. And it was literally like looking at definitely not the grid I was used to seeing. And it was jarring, because it was so blatant to me, yet people were going along with it like it was okay. And I felt highly uncomfortable, because I want to see myself represented, but I want it to be for the right reasons. I want it to be because you actually care about those couples and you want to post them, or they're authentically together and not just styled shoots. I also want you to be doing the work in the background and not just showing that you're inclusive, actually being inclusive. The number one question that I've been asked in the last 3 months is, how do I look inclusive? Well, you know, go home and rephrase that question and tell me how you're going to be inclusive, because looking inclusive is not the answer here. My goal, and what I would like to see within the wedding industry, is fellow wedding photographers going with 100% energy to every single wedding that they're booked for, regardless of race, gender, sexual orientation, whatever religion, when they arrive at that wedding, and not feeling disheartened or, you know, moody or grumpy or a bit uncomfortable that they're in the presence of culture or diversity. Even if that's an Asian wedding, it doesn't have to be black people. I want you to go with 100% energy, or not take the booking at all. That's the point. And if you've just changed your grid to couples upon couples and styled shoots of black people, and you think that black people are going to then book you, I challenge that to be incorrect, because it's transparent and it doesn't feel authentic, and it doesn't feel like a safe space for us. And if those pictures you're posting were already available to you, why didn't you post them before May 2020? Why did it take that event for you to post them? Which adds to that feeling that I definitely won't trust your business, because I can see what you're doing. And if I can see it, you know, couples down the road can see it, and it's just not right. You're doing the work for a monetary gain. You're doing the work for a hashtag and to appease your credit online. You're not doing the work because you care about us. And that, to me, is what I care about. Like, I really don't care about how many wedding bookings you can get. I care about how you're going to those weddings and how you're treating the people. you know, I've seen some people say they're going to offer half price shoots to Black people and stuff to try and boost their representation and diversity. And we don't want anything cheaper or for free or extra. We don't want extra salad with our fries. We just want the same as you, and we want to be treated the same. Like, it feels really disrespectful and really offensive when I see people offering shoots cheaper to Black people like they're doing a service. We can afford it as well. It's almost kind of, yeah, just don't do it. Like, please, like, literally don't do it. Like, I'll happily pay for a quality service regardless of who it is or where you're based on the service, isn't it? And if you provide an honest service and you are posting with integrity and you aren't appeasing a hashtag, then you're likely to get my business, because I will know you're just a general good person. And that's the kind of goal here for me. And I want my friends and family to book wedding photographers and know that they're not going to be like, got a Black wedding tomorrow and I'm dead uncomfortable. And these are things that I've heard. And Black people never smile. Do you know us all? Do you? Because, like, that's a lie. Like, that's a lie. You know, we're very smiley people. But you know yourself, when you go into a wedding prep, whether it be groom, bride, whatever, your energy can change the energy in that room. If you go in dead stressed, really late, and you're like, oh gosh, the kid, this is me now, obviously, kids doing my head in this morning, and they're all going to be like, oh, great. You know what I mean? She's professional. Whereas if you go with a smile and with confidence and with passion for that day, they're going to feel good. They're going to give you good vibes back, because your body language dictates more than you say. I definitely feel that how you carry yourself says more to me in my presence than what your words are saying for you. You can message me anything you like, but when I see you, I'll know. And I'll know, I felt it already, like, oh, I'm not racist. And then they're standing there and they're fearful. And you're like, why are you shaking? Like, what the heck? I think the most personal thing that I'm going to add to that, and this is personal, I don't normally share it actually, is my future brother-in-law said to me the other week that if my dad was behind them in an alleyway and a white stranger that they didn't know was behind them in an alleyway, they would feel much more scared of my dad. They know my dad for a start, but they'd still feel more scared. So that kind of shows you the impact of representation in films, what people perceive Black people to be. And whilst we don't have a lot of power as photographers, we do have the power to make somebody have the best day ever. We do have the power to represent people authentically and clearly and show people what, you know, it means to be Black. You can post the content, still post your white couples. I'm not asking people to just be posting a multicultural grid, because I can't, because I live in North Wales. But that won't matter to you, because if you're doing the work anyway, it won't matter to you what people have to say about your grid. It won't matter to you what the blogs are doing. It won't matter to you what the trends are. You'll be doing the work because you care about the results. And for me, that means an awful lot more. And I absolutely, totally understand that there's a pressure to perform, especially, you know, Facebook and Instagram in the photography communities. And it's a lot of pressure to kind of look like you're doing the right thing. But I would rather you take 6 months of silence online and do it with integrity than do it just for the sake of doing it, because eventually it will only harm more people. If you haven't done the work, don't book them. If you feel like you've got biases, you know, pass it on to somebody who doesn't. Pass that work on, because somebody will go with 100% energy, and that's what I want to see. It makes me really sad to think of people investing their money in you when this is a saturated industry and they could have had anyone, and then they get somebody who has biases towards them anyway. So don't let that be a mistake. Let them spend their money with absolute no regrets. And finally, time. Time is key here. I can't trust your brand in a day. I can't trust your brand in the last 3 months. I will trust your brand once I've seen consistency, once I've seen that you are just generally representative of what I believe in. Even if you can't show me in pictures, you can show me in words. and you don't have to have Black people on your page to show that you welcome everybody. So for me, that's really important. Like, I'd rather see you post a caption under an absolutely irrelevant picture, doesn't have to be Black people, that was heartfelt and meaningful, and read that and know that I have an ally in you, than for you to have done a styled shoot last week as quick as you could and then expect me to book you, because I won't. It's alienating to your white clients that, you know, especially the people who are posting just Black content now because it's relevant and in fashion, you're alienating the clients you had already. I don't want to cause further divide. So why would I alienate white people when all people are the goal for me? And if you truly have a goal of like photographing everybody and that everybody is for you, you will kind of take that on board and consider it from a client's point of view if you suddenly have that, you know, sudden change in your grid. So yeah, try not to alienate any ethnicities and make it normal to see diversity and not such a trend, because I would really love to see myself in 6 months' time when this hashtag is kind of not as prevalent, is not as social media focused and not as pressured on the media, because then I will know who was tokenistic and performative and then who was genuine. I go to sleep every single day knowing that I've given 100% to each couple that come my way. You know, if there was ever a decline in that, that would be personally down to me being ill. It would never be because of who they are. And I think that's totally the most important thing for me about what I do as Love Luella, like going with 100% energy every time to everybody. And if it feels gross when you post it and you feel a bit uncomfortable, the chances are it's not the right thing to do and that your body's telling you no. And your mind might tell you yes, but don't do it. Good intentions. Good intentions obviously are great. And, you know, if I'm playing with my kids and I accidentally elbow Kai in the face, I didn't mean to do it, but I've still got to say sorry. That's the point. He's upset, I hurt him. And acknowledging the pain that you've caused someone, apologising regardless of whether you meant to do it or not, is key. It's not always easy to say sorry or take accountability for your actions, but it is the right thing to do. And even if I don't think I've done wrong and I personally wouldn't have been hurt by something, I say sorry anyway, because to that person it means the world. And it's literally a word that can change the dynamic of that conversation. Apologising for harm, whether you meant to or not, or whether you planned it out for days or weeks or months, is kind of key to growth, because it never feels good to be called out. It's never going to feel fun. It's absolutely natural to get defensive, but it doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It means that you're a great person if you can say sorry and move forward from it, taking on board what you've done. Like, you don't have to sit there and worry about it for weeks. Just apologise there and then, and it would literally be a part of your little process on this massive journey. I'm definitely not perfect, and I'm not here to kind of chastise you on everything you've done up to now. We are an ongoing personal project, and the only way I can kind of describe it is if you look at your photography 5 years ago or 2 years ago and look at your photography now, the growth is visible, isn't it? So you've literally put time and effort into your craft to get better, to provide a better service, to take better pictures, to win more awards and gain more recognition. That is literally what I'm trying to do with my anti-racism and inclusivity journey, because I've got much to learn in terms of LGBTQ plus diversity and, you know, different demographics and identification and how you identify yourself. I've got absolutely shitloads to do in that respect, and I continue to do it. And I hope that in 6 months' time I look back now and I feel proud of how much effort I put into doing it, and then I continue to grow and so on and so forth. Obviously, you know, it's really difficult to continue to maintain a high standard for yourself without kind of anybody looking in. But that's the point. I want you to do the stuff that's right. I want you to take the right path, call out the bad behavior, stand up for me when I'm not in the room, because I can speak for days, as you can hear. But what you say about me when I'm not there to defend myself is what matters to me. I want you to call out racism like if your grandmother was getting beaten up across the street. Do you know what I mean? You would just be disgusted. You would shout, you would say something, you would do something. I want the energy that people have for supporting their favourite football team. 10% of that for anti-racism and it would be over already. Like, I do think that people are very, very willing to put their energy into fun things, and it's never fun for self-growth, but the results are so worth it. So this is an obligatory quote, one of two in these slides. And it's kind of self-explanatory, you know, use a legend, the time is always right to do what's right. It's never too late. If you did something terrible when you were younger, or you remember an event where you know you've caused harm, then you've done that, haven't you? What my job is now is to show you how to do better with your future, not to continue to rehash what we've done. You cannot converse or educate or undo 400 plus years of oppression, but you can make changes to make the future better. Nothing I do is going to change the fact that my great grandmother was a slave. Nothing I can do will change her life and her kind of fate, but I can change the fate of my children's and my children's children, and I won't be here to see the results of that, but I'll do it anyway. And that's the point, doing it anyway, without kind of thanks, without appreciation, without a clap. Then you've got my attention and I'll be very happy to be your mate. Watch me grow. I was speaking to Laura earlier, was like my first photography package. I was that person and it's cringe. So I've got to like pay homage to that because that's part of my personal progress. I don't name my packages stuff like that anymore. And if you do, that's fine, but it doesn't suit my personality. I was trying to be something that I thought my clients wanted instead of being myself. So that's the point of that for me. What you take from this today is up to you. You could find me really annoying and I would absolutely agree with you because I find myself annoying as well. But if you could just listen to something that I've said, learn from something, even if it's just one sentence, one little single snippet of this, and you apply it to your life and go, I'll be happy anyway. Because essentially I would assume if you're here that you're already on a journey, you've read books, you've probably, you know, put your time into watching other talks from much more eloquent people. And I would be very happy for you because this is not the best start if this is the start of your anti-racism journey. Because I'm just one person in Ruthin, North Wales, chilling, looking forward to a pizza. And I just want to feel safe and I just want to feel represented. And I just want to have a better 35 years ahead than the 35 years behind. And I don't think that's asking for a lot considering. Which I haven't really gone into my personal life, but I will. So how can I help? If you got here and you're like still present with me, then I'm happy you're here. I absolutely understand that it's a lot and it's a lot of rambling. I'm a very babbly kind of person and it doesn't matter that I've got notes. I'm not going to lie. Hardly any of them have been used. Because it's just stupid. I always talk from the heart and touch wood, it hasn't failed me yet. So I'm just going with it. I'm going to talk about the personal side of me because I skipped it in the beginning. And I think it's important to give context into why I feel so strongly about anti-racism. So growing up in North Wales was terrible. Wales is lovely. It's stunning. It's beautiful. The language is great. I'm happy to be Welsh Jamaican, but it wasn't easy. I was 1 in 1,000 in the high school and I experienced microaggressions, overt racism and physical. Honestly, it was terrible. All my life. From 4 to 15, I literally wished to be white every single day. I'm not kidding. what a waste of time that was. I still woke up like me. I cried in my bed. I couldn't tell my dad because he was so like protective and defensive, and he was from the military, so he's kind of scary. So I used to hide it, and I used to get upset every day, and I used to just wish to be like my friends. I wanted to sunbathe in my summer dress. I just wanted to be like them. I didn't know what it felt like to be proud. I didn't know what it felt like to be kind of accepted. I was never kind of given the roles I wanted. I talked about this last night in my talk. My first memory of kind of racism, and only knowing now what it was I wasn't allowed to be an angel in the school play because all angels were white, I was told. So like, when you're 4, you're like, oh, so the good people in the sky are white, but I can be Medusa because I've got braids, and she's bad apparently. And it was always very, you can be the baddie, or you can be the homeless girl, or you can be, and I really wanted to be an actress from 4 to like 14ish, and I was never kind of allowed to express myself or be myself. If I did challenge it in any way, honestly, teachers were the worst. They would make an example of me, and stand me up in front of class and point out the differences in my hair texture, and point out differences in my nose and my Jamaican wide nose and things like that. And oh my gosh, I wanted so much surgery in my teens. I wanted a dainty nose, and I wanted smaller lips, and lo and behold, what are we doing now? We're filling our lips. But at the time, I couldn't see anyone who looked like me, anyone who would have my back. And that's the point. Going to a conference and being 3 people in a room of 500 is intimidating. So just getting a smile from someone means the world. In the photography industry specifically, I definitely feel like I've turned up at events when I've had the guts to go, and I've received a lot of, especially from middle-aged white men, you look like trouble, don't cause me any grief today, are you going to be hard work? They literally don't know me, we've never met, I don't even know their name at this point. And that's so kind of impacting on your confidence, and you do overthink, and you do, get a bit introverted, and you do kind of stick to your own people and the people you know. And then that's no good for anybody, because then people do think I'm a cow, and I'm not a cow. I'm just kind of scared and a bit worried that that's going to happen again. And now, obviously, with what's gone on this year, I can actually respond. I have the confidence to say, obviously you're going to be the problem because you're presenting me with this, instead of saying, hi, nice to meet you, and just telling me your name, because that's really all I want. I want to know your name. I hope you want to know my name. And then we can maybe be friends. We might not get on. Not everybody gets on. But to be judged based on your appearance, or be told that you look like an angry black woman if you get upset, or, automatically on a night out, if a man doesn't know me, one man will say, you're going to cause trouble tonight, aren't you? Or you're going to give me grief tonight. Don't start with me and your attitude. And I get this a lot. Don't do that to me. And I'm like, what is that? What is that even? Like, I talk with my hands, but I've yet to do that. And it's just stupid. That's as eloquent as you're going to get. Like, it's stupid. So consider, when you meet someone, how you feel when you go into a conference situation. Photographers by trade, I think we're quite an anxious demographic anyway. But when you're feeling nervous, just think, how does that person across there feel? A smile can go such a long way. And there's so many situations where I can pinpoint the person that made me feel comfortable, and they don't even know how much of an impact they've had on me. But I remember them. I might not tell them, I might reach out one day, but I remember in every single social event in this industry who made the effort to make me feel okay. And that is not lost on me. That changed my experience, and that made me go back, and that made me stay in this industry. So those people who were already doing those things, I guess that's a universal thank you, because it's so important. So I can't see the time. Oh, wow. Okay, I'm going to hurry up now. Okay, so home, business and world. I believe that what you do at home will reflect in your business, and what you do in your business will reflect in the world. If you're trying to go backwards or go to the middle one because you care about the financial aspect and skip the home part, it's not going to work, because you need to have those conversations with your family and your friends and your kids. I understand that the social pressure there is now to photograph Black people and show that you do it. But I would implore you to look in your local community, have a look, you know, at your local cookouts, the local music events, the carnivals. Obviously not when COVID's going on and these events aren't happening, but genuinely, there are so many events and so many Black-led events that will never get a photographer's time, that will never get the kind of recognition, volunteer groups. There are places where positive things are happening that 1 hour of your time would build connections that are authentic and organic. You may or may not make friends, but you will definitely be known to the Black community and then organically get Black bookings without kind of just showing that you photograph pretty Black people for Instagram. So in June, the local community page in where I'm from thanked my dad for all his volunteering. And honestly, you'd think that he'd just won the lottery. He was so chuffed. It made his, I think, month. And it was free. They thanked him on social media, and he has volunteered for them for a good 8 or 9 years without thanks. The fact that they thanked him meant the world to him. So all I'm asking is that say hello to the people in the street, like wave. We don't need like a special wave, and get to know the people in your community, because once you get to know them, organic, great things will happen. I'm not saying that every Black person you meet will be a good person, because there's bad people in every demographic. However, time is the key. And when you do stuff for people without any thought or gain for what you can have right there, gratification, good things happen. Putting yourself out there will mean that more people will come to you because they'll trust your brand. Like, you don't have to work for free all the time, but, you know, even offering, you know, services to companies that would never ever consider that they could have a photographer. I don't think people realize that there's a lot of people who don't realize that these things are available to them. And if you're happy to go and photograph the protests for social media likes, you should be happy to go and photograph the carnival or the cookout or the music event, because it's a positive Black event instead of a historical Black event. And whilst I understand that, you know, you want to be there and you want to be the person to get that image, there are plenty of Black photographers who will do that as well. Supporting Black wedding suppliers. If you're going to do a styled shoot, and I'm sure that some of you still will and have, try getting Black wedding suppliers as well, especially if the models are Black. Pay them. And I know from experience that I can only get my hair done if I go 60 miles onwards from my house. That is like, it's really hard to find a Black hairdresser. I'm getting married in April, and to find someone to come to North Wales to do my hair is hard. So when you're doing it, and if you're using Black models, consider how they will feel to be seen, heard and recognised without having to tell you, have you got somebody who knows how to do Black skin? Believe it or not, many makeup artists do not know how to work on Black skin. They don't have the colours, they don't have the expertise, they don't have the experience. So when you're organising all these things and you're doing it, do it with heart and do it with integrity. And imagine if it was you. Just put yourself in that position and think, what can I do to make that person's life a bit easier? Literally, things like that go a long way. I do think that everything you do, if you do it with heart, then friendships and organic connections will follow. And then what's the worst that can happen from that? So I don't know why I sigh every time I read it, but it's auto. Black people are tired right now. I know you're tired right now if you've listened to me rambling for the last hour. But if you can, do me a favour and not kind of approach every Black person you know for advice on each situation, that would be amazing. Because there are people like me who are doing this now, giving the time, where you can ask the questions that won't put that emotional labour and stress and strain on the people you know that you were going to ask about it. So I would say, if you have access to people like me, or you are on a course with a tutor or the mentor who is well educated and better at this, ask them. Check on Google, read books, because I can honestly say It's so overwhelming kind of being asked for an immediate answer to something that you feel triggered by. So if I'm being asked, I said this to this Black person and it really upset them. Obviously that's upset me to read. I'm feeling all triggered and trauma, and then I've got to reply to you in a coherent and comprehensive way to make it better. It's pressure, especially if it's somebody you care about who's asking you, who kind of made the error or needs help. The burden of this social change for me has been quite heavy. I definitely know this is my last, but this is it for me. Like, I can't do this. Consistently, my cat's meowing. Soz. I promise I feed it. So yeah, I can't do this every month. I definitely said yes to a few things, just because it was kind of like, I felt like if I didn't say yes, then I was letting Black people down and myself down and the kids down. And now I realise I can say no, because like I'm a person, and I definitely, yeah, I need like long baths and meditation and time to process everything that's gone on in the last 3 months. So I will continue Let's Talk with Tash, because that's kind of on my own terms with my own energy. But probably for me, this will be my last kind of, I'm not a natural speaker, as you can see. So putting myself in this position where I feel uncomfortable is not ideal. And if you got anything from it, I'd love to hear, because I'm feeling that regret. And like, yeah. I realise for photographers, especially the photographers I know, I can honestly say the photographers that I get on with and the photographers that I have a relationship with are emotive, emotional people who care, and they have a lot of empathy. That's why you photograph emotional events like weddings. And I know the impact that that's had on the good people I know, the feelings that they've had. They feel like they've let me down. They feel like they're not doing enough. It isn't sustainable to continue to push yourself to do everything right all the time. You cannot possibly. So what I'm saying is, I would rather you spend a full week doing it, learning, educating yourself, or bits little and often, and then giving yourself a massive break, because it's so much to take in, and it's so kind of uncomfortable to hear, uncomfortable to go through. I'd rather you not give up in a year's time. I want you to be on this journey for life now. And that sounds boring as hell, but that's the way it is. This is definitely not a journey that ends today. This is definitely not a journey that ends in the next 2, 3, 4 years. It's a consistent, self-growth process, and you've got to reflect. So take social media breaks. Definitely take social media breaks. I'm taking one Saturday to Thursday. Don't try and contact me. Disconnect from the anti-racism stuff. Watch funny films. Whatever it is that gets you to relax, do it, and do it often, because it is lifelong work. And for you to be an ally to me, I need you to be well, and that's in your mind as well. And we all know mental health is just as important as physical health. It's 2020. It's been a year. So just don't take on too much, and don't think you've got to go to every talk. Don't think you've got to subscribe to every Let's Talk with Tash. You don't. Just come as and when you want. It's chilled. And yeah, like, do what you want to do for the right reasons. As long as you're not doing it for validation and likes, I'll be happy. So basically, it's kind of, self-explanatory. This is a marathon and not a sprint, and sustainability does trump speed. And I hate using the word trump right now. I can't physically use it. So being a positive ally is a thankless task. I won't be able to thank you every time you do something amazing. I won't be able to say, oh, hey, I saw that you did that post and it's so good. And sometimes people won't notice, but I want you to do it anyway. I want you to show up for me. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. When I cannot show up for myself, I want you to stick up for me, not because you like me as a person, but because you know it's bloody wrong. If you know it's wrong, go against it. I need you to go against it, because you have no idea the gravity of a white voice compared to a black voice in a room. Like, if I say something with passion, I will be told I'm over the top. But if my best friend Carla says something with passion, and we've had this discussion, she will be told, wow, you're so passionate. It's so deep. it's ridiculous. So I need you to use that power that you were born with and use it for the greater good, because without this team effort, there will be no team. It's necessary now. So that's pretty much what I've been saying the whole time, which is that there's no greater gift than giving one's time and energy to help others without expecting anything in return. I certainly don't expect anything. If you've come and you can't pay what you can, I'm not saying don't pay, because that would be bad for Laura, but pay Laura, innit? I'm not bothered, I'll do it anyway. I don't feel like I need to be paid for this. I feel like, I kind of feel really icky about earning anything from such a tragedy, to be honest. I'm still trying to correlate that for myself in my mind, that these opportunities wouldn't have happened for me if somebody hadn't have died really slowly. And I would love those opportunities to happen without the loss. And I want those to happen, not just for me, but for everybody. I don't know why I'm emotional, I'm so sorry. So I come to the end. And there's resources on the screen and you can read them, because I can't speak right now and I'm not a very good speaker. Hi Laura, I'm sorry.
So you can have a little cry unimpeded.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
don't apologise.
You don't have to apologise.
We believe that feeling is healing. So never apologise for feeling your emotions, ever.
Oh, annoying.
Tash, that was brilliant. There's no
human with myself.
why you're
Oh, it was
emotional.
great.
My feedback is stop saying that you're a rubbish speaker, because you're absolutely not.
I'm definitely a rubbish speaker. I ain't doing this again. Like, that's it.
I don't think you said once. You were so articulate.
Honestly, my mouth is so dry.
If this is your swan song, can you sing us a ballad? Thank you so much. That was amazing.
I talked so fast.
Thank you.
Has anyone got any questions for Tash?
Don't feel pressured to ask me anything, because I totally get that it's a hard topic.
I don't know if it's a question, because you covered quite a lot of it, but and I'm a worse speaker than you, because trying to get my point out, I'm probably gonna.
Oh no, honestly, I feel like I missed so many points there,
but I live in the North Wales of the middle of England. I genuinely live in a very, very white area, and I think you covered it in, doing things with integrity and not doing it for tokenism. And, I have a lot to learn, and I'm doing that reading and in bits and pieces. And I hope to be a good ally to you and to everyone else when it's needed. And the purpose of diversifying my social media, for example, would not be for tokenism, but would be so that anyone in my area, because like I say, there are very few Black people in the area, and I used to live close to a woman who, really creative, wonderful woman called Stacey, who since the death of George Floyd has felt very alone, and said, that I was one of the only people that spoke out to her or checked on her or made sure she was okay and everything. And my want to diversify, and maybe a little bit desperately so after what happened, is so that other people like Stacey in this area feel welcome. Not like, I don't need the bookings. I don't mean that to sound blasé, and I'm not necessarily I'm doing okay.
When did you talk about bookings then?
It's not for that reason. And I just, because it is so difficult to diversify around here, I want to know other ways that I can make people and friends like Stacey feel welcome in what I'm putting out. Not that they have to come and book me or anything else.
If they don't live where you are you willing to travel then? Because obviously you're saying there isn't many anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I do anyway, travel quite a lot, but
Okay.
I generally, because of what is around here, the suppliers around here are white, the brides are white, everyone who works at venues is white. It is white in Rutland. It's all white. You know, like, again, there are 2 black children in Elsie school, and I felt like,
So-
and Stacey's checked in with me every week, and I felt like that's not my job, but there's a real absence. There's, you know.
In your area?
Yeah.
So I would say, so I'm Stacey in North Wales.
Yeah.
I would say that you doing that because you want to do it means more to me than what you show on social media. Also, the posts that you put out, just doesn't matter what colour the subjects are, it's what your words are saying. So your words can say more to me as a black person feeling safe and to book you than just showing me black people.
Because so I probably need to like stop talking about what I had for breakfast and stuff.
You can talk about what you had for breakfast. That makes you, and that's why you've got loads of bookings, isn't it? But I would definitely say that desperation that you feel to do it is your feelings. We don't feel desperate to see it. We feel like we want to see authenticity.
Yeah.
So I think kind of correlating that feeling of you wanting to appease that feeling you have now because you see the injustice and you feel so strongly is great, because not many people do. So use that for the energy in the long term, because this is definitely going to be something you're going to have to be patient with. Yeah, you can seek out styled shoots, but if you do, I would say make the effort to diversify that team and make it a collaboration of creatives, because there's amazing black suppliers out there that I had no idea existed until
me too.
On.
Yeah.
I've got black friends in the industry now, and that pleases me greatly, but they're authentic friends, not just because they're black in it. Do you know what I mean? And when you post, use your words. And when you create, because you're creative as well, you don't just document people, you do your self-portraits, use that time and speak to the people you want to speak, because everything you write, I read anyway. So there you go. I'm reading it. Do you know what I mean? And I would say Stacey's going to read that, and Stacey, whoever else is linked to her. I think what you do with integrity speaks volumes. And whilst I totally understand that need to do more, and do what you can, there are loads of other things you can do in the meantime to support black-owned businesses and elevate black voices that you do know. And you are anyway. You've been in touch with me and supporting. Do you know what I mean?
It's important, and you're good at it. I'm sick of you saying you're not good at it.
I won't have anything other than no. Honestly.
Tash, I'd like to ask you, you've kind of talked a lot about how this has been a journey for you, and obviously sort of going from a place of wishing you weren't the race that you are and wishing you were somebody else, and then kind of going on a journey to sort of self-acceptance, and now sort of being in a place where you're kind of sharing education. Have there been any kind of real like pivotal moments that just kind of really changed everything or shifted everything for you?
Oh, that's a question, isn't it? So yeah, for me, I'm sure you can all gather, confidence is a big thing. I can't talk without getting emotional. I'm just gone, and
That's okay. You got me when you talked about your kids.
I know, but
there's nothing wrong with getting emotional. You should just take a second, breathe if you feel like you need to. It doesn't matter if your voice wavers or you cry.
So
it's fine.
Growing up, I was always told, obviously, as I've said, that if I adjusted who I was, if I adjusted how I presented stuff, if I adjusted my tone, if I smiled more, if I didn't straighten my hair, random things, that people decided that if I did these things, I'd be acceptable. And I think doing this and kind of coming out into speaking only in June, I'm still very new to it, and it's still very overwhelming for me, especially to speak about. All I've spoken about so far is my race. All I've spoken about is my skin. So when people reach out and they say something positive, every single positive message is pivotal for me right now. Like, I can't do it.
I wish I could give you a hug.
I don't need hugs. I'm that kind of person.
No.
I'm self-sufficient, okay?
You're a feather.
Everyone needs hugs.
No, but like lately, I really hit a wall. I had attended the funeral on the day of Conference and Chill, and I literally nearly backed out. I was only on the inclusivity panel. That's how I presented it in my head that day. I'm only on the inclusivity panel. I don't need to be there. Blah, blah, blah. Self-talk. I just didn't have the energy. I was drained physically, emotionally. I'd tapped out in terms of kind of interaction, I think. I dragged myself to it, and I met Igor and Ida. I met other people, but specifically Igor and Ida, and that's what they were there on the screen. Like, one was there and one was there, and they were like a buffer. And honestly, Igor didn't have to do it. I knew who he was. He didn't know who I was. And he reached out to me after the panel and he said, whatever you do, I will be behind you, because that was amazing. And I don't think he realised the impact that had on me, because that's how Let's Talk with Tash came. And Ida is like my biggest supporter. She's Ethiopian born, now in Germany, and she comments on everything I do, and she supports, she's there for every talk. I can see her name, and she's just like the best person. So these people that I've met through this process have been the most impacting. Yeah, overall, positively, the people are the best part for me. The people who have had my back when I didn't ask them to, or did show up for me when I didn't know they did until after the event, like Osman, whose Wolf shoots weddings, and just having that kind of network of people who know how you feel. As somebody who's grown up very isolated, it's such a relief and such a like a safe feeling to be on that panel last night with 5 other Black people, and I did that. It was like, oh bloody hell, you know, like, you did that, that's okay. I can accept that that was all right. Do you know what I mean? So like, kind of getting myself to the stage where I can accept the compliment would be nice. It's going to take a process, and I'm, you know.
Take some time off, and then would you like to come back and speak about something else?
Oh God, one day, innit? I'll talk about anything other than.
Tash, do you want to hit? Do you want to stop sharing your screen so that
yeah,
we can see your face bigger, your lovely face?
I took a screenshot of the resources, by the way. I have a lot of those already, but
how am I stopping this now?
Um,
because I'm on some weird little mini panel now. Oh yeah, I see.
There we go.
Hello. So yeah, like Conference and Chill was massive for me, especially the ladies behind it on Pepper, behind Conference and Chill. They have been amazing, particularly Stacey. She is like a little guardian angel in my inbox. We video called at least 7 times since. She has helped me behind the scenes with Let's Talk with Tash, with no want of thanks, no asking for anything, no, will you say this for me to look this way? There's been a lot of that for me behind the scenes, a lot of, will you say I did this for you, or will you mention this, or I'll give you this if you mention that I did this for you. And it's horrible, because it's like, can't you just be nice, just without, I'd say thank you anyway, but the fact that that's kind of a condition of these things, that's horrible. So the people who've come authentically, the people who've come because they absolutely want to learn, or want me to speak, or want to hear what I've got to say, despite it being emotional, they're the things that have been massive for me, like massive. In terms of self-growth and anti-racism, like personally.
I think the emotion is really important, because we talked about this earlier, like every time, and I've talked to Nova Reid about this quite a lot, and every time a Black person is required to share their experience or relive their past experiences, you're reliving the trauma that has traumatized you, and that has a massive effect on your mental health and your physical health. So I think if you delivered it in a way that was anything other than kind of authentic and emotional, you lose some kind of awareness of that. And I think it's really important for people to be aware of the fact that we are, every time we ask a Black person to do emotional labour, we are asking people to relive their own trauma.
I know. I think I spoke to you about this earlier. I didn't realise how much I had put into boxes in my mind. I didn't realise what was in there. And then, I'm not joking when I say I'm 35 now, I cannot remember a time prior to May 2020 that I was asked how I was, and the actual answer was wanted. Not like, how are you? Fine, thanks. Not, how are you? And actually waiting for me to respond. And that was alien to me. Like, June was, I'll never forget those feelings of, you actually want to know. And I literally was so shocked that people wanted to know. And I used to reference these things in a kind of comedic, self-deprecating way, like referencing an archive, like that happened in that year, that was that, and make a joke. And that was my coping mechanism. So now, actually speaking about, you know, especially the physical stuff that really, really upsets me. So yeah, like, yeah, it was hard growing up here. I didn't go into it much because I could sense I think I'm exhausted, and I knew I would cry and it would just be a whole hour of sobbing if I'd have started talking about being, you know, the things I touched on last night, the spitting on and the uniform cut off you and your hair being cut off and set on fire, bloody loads of things. Just, oh, I'd hate that to happen to Kai Milo. I would hate it. So
honestly, I had no idea about that, and obviously you can only do what you can sort of emotionally take. You can only share so much with us, but it's important because I have not experienced that. I can't tell you how shocked I have been over the past few months to hear what people have gone through. It's horrendous. I'm so sorry.
You don't have to apologise, it wasn't you. But like, I get that. And I remember speaking to Lucas and Matthias about it and why Love Luella was not Tash, and just, you know, the racism I'd experienced in weddings, which I didn't touch on today. And they were flabbergasted. But similarly, other Black people that I've spoke to, like on my panel last night, they had a different experience than me. Theirs was a build-up of microaggressions, whereas I've had the microaggressions and the overt. So it's stupid, but me and Marnie spoke the other day, and it was like, we were saying how lucky each other were, how easy we'd got it. It shouldn't be a conversation. It shouldn't be that you were lucky to get out of a wedding scot-free. It shouldn't be that I'm not followed to my car today. It really shouldn't be that I'm asked where I'm from. And like, you know what I mean? Like, every day, if I leave the house, every single day, there is a microaggression of some sort. I could literally film each day and know that would be a guaranteed. I'd put money on it. Whether it be, you know, somebody you can just see in Tesco, for example, they speak lovely to everybody else and they get to you and it's just, they don't look at you, they won't speak to you, they don't say please, they don't say thank you, they won't even touch your hand. Obviously now they won't touch your hand, but I mean before. Yeah, it's just, yeah, always like, even in a queue for a nightclub, everybody be fine and then I would be searched. Always in the airport, I know I'm taking off everything I've got. I know I'm getting stripped down. I know it. I just know, and it happens every bloody time. And it's like, it's boring. It's really, really boring because I just can't be bothered. It's almost like a sense of, I've had enough now. I think that's what happened this year. Everybody kind of went, I've had enough now. And there is only so much you can take before you kind of reach capacity and limit, I think. People always say to me, oh, you're so pretty for a Black girl. And I'd be like, thank you, I think, like, you know, or oh, you've got a real, obviously I'm Welsh Jamaican, and it'd be about my shape and my backside. And I've always been really self-conscious because it's always been something that is continuously pointed out. So of course I don't feel bloody like Beyonce right now. Do you know what I mean? It's literally a product of the environment, but it's going to take time, but I'm pretty sure that I'll be fine. And I'll be more confident, I'm sure. Either way, the kids will be, because I build them up every day.
They're very lucky to have you.
Talking on my own. Yeah, they are. I that's one thing I'm okay with. I'm happy to be talking about motherhood, and I do feel they're lucky. That's one thing I can say about myself, and I feel all right about that. Yeah.
Has anyone else got any questions? Well, thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Just as a reminder, there is a link in the chat if you want to donate. The suggested donation is £20 if you're feeling flush, £10 if you're not. And if you're really, really not, we're not asking you to donate at all. Just please spread the word about the SNAP Community Education Programme. This talk will be available to watch as a playback. So feel free to spread the word amongst your friends, family, whoever, if you've enjoyed it, found it useful, learned something from it. And we are back in 2 weeks' time with Tim Dunk and Marnie. I feel like Marnie's like Prince or something. She just needs one word. You know, it's Marnie.
Yeah, but do you know what? She is, isn't she?
And just Marnie, our Marnie Vidal, and they'll be talking about FaceTime portraits, not FaceTime portraits.
That one will be very good, I'm sure. I'll be there. I'll watch that one.
Amazing. Yeah, we're going to have a little sort of chat about the format of that next week to make sure that everyone gets as much out of it as they can. So if you've got any questions that you specifically want Tim and Armani to answer, post them in the Snap group. Thank you, everyone. Have a lovely evening. Thanks so much for tuning in. Tash, thank you so much for your time.
It's okay, it's fine. Enjoy my tears.
Oh no, go and enjoy your pizza.
Yeah, go and have
I'm having a pizza. I'm having a pizza. I'm gonna have a meat feast. It's decided. It's happening.
Enjoy.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye, everyone.
Bye.